Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and today I'll show you how I've made my own doll stands. I originally wanted saddle stands, which cradle the doll from underneath, but I discovered my dolls, particularly my male dolls, don't have a big enough gap between the thighs for them to use one. So instead I've been making the kind that holds the doll around the waist. For the rod of the stand, I use a dowel rod. I'm using a 1/2 inch because my big dolls are heavy. I stand my dolls one at a time and hold the dowel rod to their back to see how tall it needs to be. It just needs to reach their waist. I mark that point, then grab the base. For the base, I'm using pine plaques. The rod goes toward the back of the plaque. I traced around it to show where the hole needs to go. Before I can drill through, I need to make sure I check to see how thick the plaque is so I can add that as length to the dowel rod. Otherwise, it might end up being too short for the doll I want to use it for. I use a hand saw to cut the dowel rod and a miter box to ensure the cut is straight, but the miter box is totally optional. Remember when you cut, drill, or sand wood that you should wear a mask to keep from breathing the sawdust. Unfortunately, my drill isn't big enough to hold a 1/2 inch bit, so when it's time to drill, I start with something smaller and then turn to my Dremel for enlarging the hole. I have a lot of different carving bits for the Dremel, and this cylinder-shaped one is perfect for the job. Once I have the hole drilled through the plaque, I slide in the dowel rod. It's pretty snug, so I use a hammer to knock it in securely. If yours fits a little loosely, use glue to anchor it. The last thing to do is add something to the top to hold the doll to the stand. I'm using wooden beads with large holes. Since they're round, I use a round carving bit from my Dremel to hollow out the top of the dowel rod just a little, so the bead sits in this little cup. That's not necessary, but I think it makes a nice finish. Once the dowel rod is shaped on top, I use some glue to attach the wooden bead to the top with the hole running horizontally through the bead. My camera totally focused on the wrong part of the stand for this, but hopefully you get the idea. Just glue the bead on top. Lumia's stand will now need to dry overnight, but I can continue with another one I started. To secure my dolls to their new stands, I'd like to use repositionable zip ties, but I don't have any right now, so for the moment I just use ribbon run through the hole on the wooden bead. I can tie this securely around Arios's waist and even hide the ribbon under his clothes, but now he's secured and can't tip over, so I can leave him standing all the time. Each stand costs about $3 or $4 to make, which is a fraction of what I'd have to pay for store-bought ones. At this point I could call the stand done, but I have to be a little extra, so I use my Cameo 3 and some vinyl to cut names for all my dolls, including some dolls I plan to make in the future so that I have them on hand already, and that way I'll know that the names are all the same color, size, and font. I used some leftover spray paint to finish the stand, which wasn't super smart because it was old and crazed a little bit, but I think the weathered look works okay for this doll. Then I apply his name to the base of his stand. Might need to straighten it out a little, but that can wait for another day. For now, this stand is done. And that's it for this time. Thanks for joining me again. Bye.